Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and welcome to episode 20 of the Unspoken Rules podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian, aka Rabid, and I'm here with two goats, Montana, aka Wildcard. How you doing today, brother?
Good morning. This is a new era for Unspoken Rules, and I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir. And of course, a return of our other co-host, Mr. Blake Spillers. Hope all is well, brother. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Mad that I missed those last couple episodes, but hey, things get in the way sometimes.
It is what it is, man. Family
Yeah.
first. We got some interesting topics to address today. As Montana mentioned, it is a very new era. We're going to be covering five topics and a debate topic at the very end. To start with, we'll be recapping the Hawks Bucks game 1, previewing the Suns Clippers game 3, the MLB banned substances for pitchers, the Chicago Bears potential new location in Arlington Heights, and what a new stadium could mean for attracting events like the Super Bowl and college football playoff, as well as obviously the Team USA basketball roster being set. And the debate topic will leave in the air, but I'll just mention potential contracts for certain NFL quarterbacks moving forward. Montana?
All right, so we're going to get right into the first topic of today's show. We have the Atlanta Hawks winning 116 to 113 to take a 1-0 lead. I'm not going to lie, this kind of took me a bit for surprise here because I did not think the Atlanta Hawks were going to come out and win a game on Milwaukee's home court. But let's get into this box score and see who did well and who did not do well. We had Trae Young, who had 48 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, had a spectacular performance for the Atlanta Hawks. John Collins, who played really, really well yesterday, 23 points, 15 rebounds. Clint Capella was a beast on the boards yesterday. He had 12 points and 19 rebounds. And as far as that, those are the main contributors for the Atlanta Hawks in yesterday's win. As far as the Milwaukee Bucks go, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo playing like an MVP level player yesterday with 34 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. Drew Holiday played fantastic yesterday. It's a shame that they wasted a great game by him at 33 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds. Chris Middleton was the odd man out here, and the Bucks' big three had 15 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 6 for 22 or 23 from the field. One of those numbers. And the only other double-digit scorer from Milwaukee was Bobby Portis, who had 11 points and 8 rebounds in 15 minutes. So, Sebastian, Blake, are you guys surprised that the Hawks won Game 1, or do we think that the Bucks just had a bad game and we expect some different outcomes as the series goes on?
Go ahead, Blake. My bad.
Oh yeah. During the playoffs, I mean, we've seen the Bucks struggle in every single game one. Game one in their first series, they had their worst game. They still won because the Heat just didn't play well. Game 2, they really struggled against the Nets, got blown out, and now we're seeing again in game 1 against the Hawks, another struggle for the Bucks. I don't know what it is, why they can't start the series out playing well, why they struggle in game 1s, but that's besides the point because my man Trae Young had 48 points. I mean, at the end of this game, they were trading basket for basket. This was for me, one of the most entertaining games to watch in the playoffs. I mean, watching both teams just go at it at the end of the game was a lot of fun. But the Bucks need more out of their second best player, Chris Middleton. You can't expect him to have bad games and you to win. It just can't happen in the Eastern Conference Finals. In the playoffs in general, you just can't have a bad game from your second best player and expect to do anything in this series. But away from that, Trae Young was doing his thing last night. I mean, he was hitting shot after shot. The Bucks just had no answer for him. And for me, if Trae Young continues to have a series like this, obviously I don't expect him to average 48 points per game this series. But if he continues to play really well, the Hawks could come out of the East here. And this was a team that I had losing in the first round to the Knicks, and they are just proving me completely wrong. And I'm just going to have to – I have all confidence in the Hawks now. I've been saying it each series, the Hawks are going to lose. The Hawks are inexperienced. They have a young team. They're not going to be able to win in this playoffs. But we have just yet to see that come into play. Nate McMillan also deserves so much credit because he brought this team from the 12 seed almost at the midway point and then now got them to a 4 seed or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's unbelievable. If we're talking about taking like mid-season till now, sorry, Monty Williams, but I think that Nate McMillan deserves Coach of the Year from that point on since he's took over as coach. He took over a team that was not scoring, was not playing any defense, and now has turned them into a 1-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's unbelievable to me. And I think even though the Bucks struggled in game one, I'm not taking the Bucks. I'm gonna have to. The Hawks have proved me wrong so far, and I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna hop off that bus. I'm gonna jump on it, even though it's late, and I'm gonna say the Hawks win this series. And I don't see the Bucks winning. Sebastian.
So, as you said yesterday, Montana, that the Bucks were, unbeatable at home. I mean, they looked very beatable, to say the least. One of the biggest problems, though, for the Bucks last night was how they played defensively. A perfect example of that was pick and roll situations. Literally, Drew Holiday got stuck. If you really want to consider it a pick and roll on John Collins, but he got stuck on a pick by John Collins, and Bobby Portis was sitting under the free throw line. I don't know how you're just going to sit below the free throw line when you have Trae Young, who's scoring 48 points on you, right? He's scoring at will. Maybe he's not shooting that great from the three-point line, but the fact of the matter is you're leaving him wide open, a player who's able to shoot that dominantly. And just I don't know where the sense of urgency came from that I'm just gonna play free throw line extended. Like it just doesn't make sense. Bobby needs to step up. I think they're getting exposed with Brook Lopez. I know I said yesterday he was going to be the key factor for this team in order for them to win, but just clearly he's too slow and can't play. So they're just going to have to run small ball. They're going to have to put PJ Tucker at the 5 and run it like the Houston Rockets lineup because Brook is too small. He only got 7 points for them offensively. He's barely getting any rebounds, to say the least. Like it's just overall the Bucks just didn't look like they wanted to win last night. Obviously, they didn't get their production like they're used to from Chris Middleton. And it's crazy to me. A lot of people were mentioning how the Bucks had size and that they would out-rebound the Hawks by a mile. Well, the Hawks won that battle by 6. So I don't know what else the Bucks need to do. Obviously, it's game one, and you did mention that, Blake, that they struggled game ones and whatnot. But offensively, to get their production from Giannis and Drew, like Montana said, it was definitely a waste of that production, especially from Drew Holiday. Now, I don't think he played the greatest of defense, but that's a different conversation in itself. Offensively, they got their spark, just not enough from everybody else in that supporting cast. Now, the Hawks, they came out to play. They wanted this win, you could tell. John Collins mentioned in an interview post-game that they believe in each other, they ride with each other, and they trust each other's decision-making, especially down the stretch to win ball games. So the kind of level of in the sense of they don't have anything much to lose because they're the underdogs, they're the underrated team going into all of these series. And so for them, they just want to go and prove it, make a statement that they're capable of competing with teams like the Bucks. And so credit to them for getting their, success offensively and getting all their production from all their players, as well as obviously getting stops, big stops down the stretch to, cut this lead that the Bucks had that they blew and turn this around and win the game. But like I said yesterday, unbiased, Hawks in 6, but I'm taking all that unbiased bias thing. Take me off of the Bucks winning. I got Hawks in 6, period. They're just way too fun to watch. I'm enjoying it. And I think but based off of especially that John Collins, Trae Young lob to John Collins in the third quarter, I think I'm going to enjoy that series versus the Suns more than the Bucks versus the Suns, in my opinion. So I think Suns-Hawks finals, like I mentioned a few days ago. And a quick fun fact before you do anything, Montana. The Hawks are 13-2 down the stretch with Nate McMillan when games are decided by 5 or less points.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stat. But here's where I'm going to come through with this. The Hawks played particularly Trae Young and John Collins and Capella, but specifically Trae Young. His 48 points. That was just a crazy game for him yesterday. I don't anticipate that happening again throughout the series. I see somewhere for him around 30 to 40 in that particular range. I don't see it going from 40 to 50. But he played a great game, and I still want to ride the Bucks. And I'm going to change I'm not going to say in 5 games because I don't think they're going to run the table and sweep them gentleman style. But I think the Bucks are gonna take this in 6 games. Maybe 7. Well, I'll say 6. Okay, but besides that, Giannis played really well yesterday. And I remember people saying, "Oh, but he's gonna get clamped up by John Collins. Clint Capella is gonna guard him well." There were some cases during the game that was the case. When he was trying to drive to the rim, he would get stripped But besides that, he still exerted his dominance throughout the game. He had 34 points. There's no reason to believe that he will not continue that level of production. Drew Holiday was the surprise for me yesterday. Had 33 points. I think he's the one that struggled throughout the first two rounds of the playoffs, but I think he's going to turn up his game now as we get closer to move on through the series and get closer to the NBA Finals. Because I think Drew Holiday really wants this bad. He's been through the fire throughout his whole entire career, and he wants that ring bad. And I believe he's going to do everything in his power to do it. The key for the Bucks is Chris Middleton. The guy can't shoot 6 for 22 from the field and expect to win the game because he's their second best player. Not Drew Holiday, not Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton is their best second player behind Giannis. He might even be their best player sometimes when it comes to scoring the basketball. But shooting 6 for 22 is just not going to get it done on a daily basis if they want to beat the Atlanta Hawks, which is why I don't think that's going to happen again either. I believe he's going to have way better shooting games than he displayed in game one because he was getting wide open shots. He was getting clean shots. They just weren't falling. And I get it. It happens sometimes to NBA players. It happens to the best of them. But I just don't see how the Bucks are going to fold this hard because they've beaten great teams to get to this point. And Atlanta, in my opinion, is worse of a basketball team than Brooklyn is. And they took out Brooklyn in 7 games. They took out the immovable monster in Brooklyn. So I do think that they are the better basketball team, and they're going to show it defensively. I believe they're going to exert their will on Atlanta. I think they're going to win game 2, and we'll see what happens from there. But I believe that Milwaukee's the better basketball team, and they're going to win the series still. What do you guys say? Nothing?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see because after game 1, it's a feel out game, like a lot of people say, in the sense of just game 1 or in game ones in general. So we'll just have to see how the rest of the series goes. I don't think Chris Middleton plays that bad again, but I don't know. It's a toss up. We'll see.
Blake, anything else?
No, I think we nailed it off right there.
All right, so that's gonna move on. We're gonna move on from our recap of the Atlanta Hawks winning 116 to 113 over the Milwaukee Bucks, taking a 1-0 lead in the series. Game 2 is on Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. Okay, so we move on to our next topic of today's show. The Los Angeles Clippers are now home against the Phoenix Suns for Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. We got some breaking news yesterday that Chris Paul is expected to play in tonight's game, bearing any unforeseen setbacks. All right, Sebastian, I know how you feel about this. So, with Chris Paul coming back, Blake, are the Suns that much more of a lock to win this game and go up 3-0, or are the Clippers actually going to put up a fight and make this an interesting series by winning Game 3 tonight?
Well, I think the Clippers are definitely going to put up a fight. We've seen even without Kawhi Leonard, they don't get blown out. They play really good basketball. They keep the games close. Paul George has been playing unbelievable in the playoffs. I think we can finally throw away Pandemic Pete. Of course, it's going to take one bad game and people are going to hop on him on Twitter, but I think that's just casuals. I think we can finally throw away the stigma that Paul George can't play well in the playoffs. He's not consistent because we've seen that so far. We've seen him carry the load. We've seen other Clippers players play really well too. It's not all about Paul George. I mean, you've had Marcus Morris, who had a tough game too, but he's had a good playoffs. Reggie Jackson had a good game too, and he's also had a really good playoffs. But you need more from players like Zubac, who's going to play more minutes now that DeAndre Ayton's in. You can't, as the Clippers, let DeAndre Ayton have 24 and 14. That just cannot happen if you expect to win. And in the first 2 games, a lot of people were saying, oh, no CP3. The Clippers need to take advantage. Well, they're forgetting that Kawhi still isn't playing. But in terms of, like you said, going back to the original question, with CP3 coming back, I don't think the Clippers have a chance to win this series, not without Kawhi. But even though the Suns are up 2-0, I think tonight is a must-win game for them. You cannot give the Clippers any hope. Zero hope. You've got to take that 3-0 lead. I know the Clippers have been down 2-0 and have come back in their previous 2 series, but this is a different team. The Suns have been the most consistent team in the playoffs so far. They're the only team that I can say they have played almost every single game well. Minus 1 game against the Lakers, I think game 2. That was the only game I saw them not play well. Other than that, they played consistent throughout the entire playoffs. But with the chance that Kawhi comes back, I know that it's a small chance, but even though it's a small chance, you can't give the Clippers any hope in tonight's game. If this series goes to 2-1 with game 4 still in LA, anything could happen. I mean, we've seen this happen twice already for the Clippers. So I think the Suns need to put them away tonight. Don't let anything happen to set this series back. Go up 3-0, and then take this series away in game 4. Sebastian?
Obviously, like you said, CP3 is back. I think CP3 is going to start out slow, especially because he's not going to be into rhythm, and I don't, with COVID and everything that he had, it's just going to be a very weird situation for CP3. I think it's going to take him a little bit to adjust. I expect a big game from Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, Mikal and Jay Crowder. I think they're going to hit a lot more shots than they did. I know Jay Crowder went 0 for 3 last game. I think Mikal went 2 for 7. So I expect them to hit more shots and provide more production for the squad. But I think that from the Suns' standpoint, there's really nothing much else to be said. They have their leader back. There's no excuse. Like you mentioned, Blake, the Clippers don't have Kawhi Leonard. The missing piece for the Suns was Chris Paul. Now they have him back. The Clippers don't have Kawhi. There's absolutely no excuse. All they really have to do in the Suns' standpoint is literally just execute offensively, defensively, and they'll win this game tonight by no means. For the Clippers side of things, I think their main concern should be this new scheme that they're about to be faced up with offensively, at least in the sense of the Suns side. I'm very curious to see how they prepped defensively for Chris Paul's scheme. You know what I'm saying? Because the Suns have been they have two different styles of play, with Chris Paul, without. And with Chris Paul, he runs the point. He facilitates everything. Without him, D-Book runs the point pretty much, except the last couple of games with Cameron Payne. Shout out to him playing so tremendously, to say the least. But with the Clippers, not having your number one option is very, very unfortunate. This is a very important must-win game tonight. I know you mentioned PG not having the pandemic P. I can agree with that to a certain extent, because down the stretch he had that 8-2 run individually, and that wouldn't have put him, in the situation to even hit the free throws. But at the end of the day, without Kawhi, you have to be the quote-unquote superstar. You have to be that person to close out games. And for him to miss those 2 free throws, I still think he has that stigma of pandemic P, because he can play a beautiful game, but he folded in the end where they needed him the most. And his free throws at the end of the day, they're literally free points for the team to make. And so the opportunity was missed for them to win that game. And so, this is just a must win. They have to get their production from their supporting cast. Reggie Jackson, like you mentioned, did have a great series so far, or a great playoffs, I should say. Marcus Morris is questionable due to the fact that, his knee is still banged up. So we'll see how he plays. Zubac, like you guys mentioned, needs to step up and get some more minutes. It's very unfortunate that they have to run this lineup, because they were so dominant and so, aggressive with Terrence Mann in that starting rotation. So I just don't know. I think the Suns win tonight with their leader back, since the Clippers obviously don't have Kawhi.
Quick question
I'm not
for the
ready.
panel. Before you get into it, do you think the Clippers may change, even though with DeAndre Ayton in that lineup, do you think the Clippers might change back to a small ball lineup?
I don't think so. The sole reason being, it got exposed game 1. It ended up being like a close game once Boogie came in and got those 11 points, dominating Dario Saric offensively, because Dario Saric doesn't have that great defense. But you saw it time and time again. And then Montana, when I mentioned that after game 1's win, Montana mentioned, DeAndre Ayton got his regular points, just all dunks in the paint. And so, they can't go small unless they change it to where DeAndre's out and then run small against Dario Saric when he's in. Then I can see that happening, because I feel like that'd be a lot easier for them offensively as well as defensively to help them try and, gain some sort of momentum in the game. But as long as DeAndre Ayton is in the game, I see no point for them running a small ball lineup.
Answering that question, I don't think they're going to go back to the small ball lineup either, because we've seen in game 2 especially with Zubac starting, and then we've seen a lot more of DeMarcus Cousins coming off that bench playing the center role to give them that size that they're missing, because they're getting eaten on that glass and they're getting eaten in the paint. And that's the problem right now for the Clippers, is that they can't control the paint. That's the high pick and roll is the problem, because that once they get to the top and they start rolling to the paint, that's the issue, because they don't have anyone to guard that that rim and block shots. And Zubac is not going to be the guy that's going to guard DeAndre Ayton, and neither is DeMarcus Cousins, because obviously those two guys aren't great defenders, but they're just bodies at this point. You just got to put them in there to do whatever you can to slow DeAndre Ayton down, because the guy is having an awesome series right now. And besides that, with Chris Paul coming back, I believe it's definitely going to give an extra boost to the Phoenix Suns as far as how they run the offense. It's going to be a lot more smoother now than it is with Devin Booker taking the ball and running the point guard. Devin Booker can finally go back to his position of running the two-man and getting shots set up for him, rather than him having to control the whole entire offense on his own, which I don't think it's a bad problem for him. He definitely can do it. But obviously in game 2, Patrick Beverley put some aggressiveness on Devin Booker and made him think about some of his shots and his choices. But I don't know. I want to say that the Clippers are going to win tonight's game, because I still believe they can do it. I still believe they can come back and make this a series. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be another close battle. I believe it's going to be another close game. I don't believe the Phoenix Suns are going to blow out the Los Angeles Clippers. I believe Paul George is going to have a better game than he had played in game 2. I believe his shooting numbers in game 2 are completely awful, and he missed 2 clutch free throws at the end. I mean, you can't do that in the playoffs. And that was pandemic P tendencies. Obviously, we don't want to say that he's pandemic P anymore, because he's showing up in the end of the games, and there wouldn't have been in that situation if he wouldn't have hit those 2 clutch shots in the fourth quarter with the final 2 minutes of the game. But he has to hit his free throw shots. If he gets put on the line, he's got to hit them. He can't be afraid of the moment. He's got to hit those shots. And I believe that he's going to have a better game. I believe Reggie Jackson's still going to do what he does. He's going to score around 20 points. There's no reason. I believe Terrence Mann is the key. If he can come off the bench and get him anywhere between 15 points and 20 points as a 6-man, he has to do that, because his scoring numbers in the first 2 games were just super low. We saw that explosion from him in game 6 against the Jazz, where he scored 39 points. I know that he has that in him. He's got to come out and show it against the Suns. They're back home now. They have home court. They have to put the aggressiveness on this game and make sure they come out with this at all costs, because if they don't and they go down 3-0, this is going to be a sweep.
One
Anything
last
else
thing.
on this?
I'm just going to say quick shot, because I was on last episode. Quick shout out to Monty Williams, drawing up that end play right there for DeAndre Ayton to get an easy dunk. I just had to get a quick shout out there. Monty, what a play draw up. I mean, that's how you win games right there. That's where people like to say that coaching doesn't matter in the NBA. Well, there you go. Monty just showed you how much coaching matters at the end of that game. Just wanted to throw that in there.
All right. So as we move on from the Phoenix Suns and Los Angeles Clippers preview for tonight's game in LA, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, we are now going to move on to an MLB topic. Recently, the MLB has cracked down on starting pitchers and bullpen pitchers for the use of sticky substances on the baseballs, putting them in their hats, gloves, belts, anything where they can use to get an advantage over the hitters. We've seen some situations arise recently where MLB players and umpires are beginning to have some conflicts with each other. MLB managers are now starting to use that as a strategy to get into players' heads. I believe that's something that has to be limited down. In my opinion, this rule is the most stupidest rule that we could ever have created. Baseball, it's always going to have problems with banned substances, whether it's PEDs or on-field uses of like sticky tack, pine tar, any of that stuff. Anyone's going to get an advantage over anyone on any given day. But we've seen players recently get injured, whether it's their velocity or spin rate on the baseball has gone way down since they've been not allowed to use this. It's given the hitters a lot more of a boost. We've seen offensive numbers tick up a bit the last couple of days. This is something I don't know if the MLB is going to continue doing this throughout the rest of the season and going forward. But this is becoming a problem. I know some pitchers like Trevor Bauer said, "Oh, this is a great idea," blah blah blah. But we see him get torched yesterday by the San Diego Padres. But I don't think this is a great situation to be in, especially with Max Scherzer and Joe Girardi going at it. Obviously, he had gotten checked before or after the first inning, I believe it was, that he had gotten checked by the umpires, as it's accustomed to doing so now in the MLB. Then the manager, Joe Girardi, says, "Oh, go check him out there again in the middle of an inning. Go check him for banned substances again." After he's already been checked once before, I am completely on Max Scherzer's side here. Of course, he's going to be angry about this because you're throwing him off his rhythm. You're obviously saying that you don't trust him to follow the rules, and this is something that has to be done away with, in my opinion, because you can't be checking players in the middle of an inning for substances just because the manager thinks he may or may not have any substances on his glove or hat, because that's just a stupid rule in my opinion, and it just takes away from the pace of the baseball game. It takes away from the pitcher's mentality. It just throws everything out of whack, especially for hitters also. It's just an interesting issue all around, and it's as the season goes on, I'm interested to see how far the MLB takes this initiative and where they decide to go with this after the season.
No, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Starting off with the issue at hand with the banned substances, I can't see the MLB retracting what they said and allowing it. I don't think they should allow an illegal substance for a pitcher. But getting into the specifics in the Scherzer and Girardi situation, let's be honest, Girardi knew what he was doing. He didn't think Scherzer was actually using any illegal substances. He saw Scherzer getting on a roll, and he wanted to throw him off. Simple as that. Girardi has been known since he was with the Yankees. He does some shady stuff like that. He always has. I've never been a fan of him since the Yankees days, and now he's doing the same. I hate to say it, Bush League tactics. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, what is he doing? I mean, in the middle of an inning, he's going to throw Scherzer. Tactics. I mean, it really is. I mean, what is Scherzer? I mean, Scherzer's having a good game, and we're just going to see this more and more unless the MLB changes it and doesn't allow for mid-inning checks. We're going to see pitchers going maybe – I mean, think about this. What if a pitcher's having a perfect game through 6 or 7, and the other manager's like, nah, he's on a roll. Let's stop it. I think he's using an illegal substance. And then he completely gets thrown off his roll. Like you said earlier, Montana, baseball is a huge game of rhythm and flow. And baseball has been trying to get the game faster on pace, get more fans to watch. Well, guess what? Fans aren't going to want to watch 3 to 4 times a game having the manager check on a pitcher thinking he's using an illegal substance. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to wait 10 minutes for an umpire to go through that. I think Scherzer had a completely valid response to that. I think he threw off his glove. He started to take off his pants. I thought it was hilarious. And I think, and it was granted, I think that his reaction, I mean, I would have reacted the same way. You said he got checked twice before that. I'm like, I've already been checked twice. Now it's in the middle of the inning. Is it really necessary? I think that's what it really boils down to. Is it really necessary to do this, to take these tactics? You're already checking pitchers before the game. I think that's good enough. If you check them before the game, that's all that needs to be done. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Sebastian?
So with that situation, yeah, like 3 times, I just don't understand how you get checked 3 times, especially I get it with the whole Bush League tactic. I get that completely, but it's just, come on, something has to be addressed and done to prevent that, because that just needs to get out the game. Another example is Sergio Ramos. That man literally pulled his whole pants down in front, as he was walking back to the, bro, I don't understand what it's getting, what is wrong now. It's just very annoying and frustrating, not only as a viewer standpoint, but a player standpoint. The man is so annoyed that he drops his pants and goes to the umps. What else do you want from me? What else do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? So it's very unfortunate and annoying that has to get out the league, but it's a completely BS rule or whatever the case may be. Another example, and this leads to players getting injured, is Tyler Glasnow, however the hell you
Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, Glasnow. Buddy's pitching a 2.6 ERA, 123 strikeouts, 88 innings this season, right? And so, but he admitted that he was using sunscreen and rosin to get a grip on the ball. And he mentions in a rant that, the baseball is inconsistent in the sense of, for pitchers from that standpoint to pitch the ball. So they need some sort of grip. So, sunscreen and rosin, that's what he popped. You know what I'm saying? So he said he completely went cold turkey against the Washington Nationals. Obviously, this was a couple weeks ago. And so in those games, he ends up after the game, feeling some sort of discomfort, and he woke up sore, finds out he partially tore his UCL. So now Buddy has to deal with being injured, and he has to now rehab to try and come back for the postseason. So we don't need that. He might end up having to get surgery. Tommy John, we don't know exactly what. But he said in a statement, I just threw 80-something innings, and then you just told me I can't use any of that in the middle of the year. I have to change everything I've been doing the entire season, everything out of the window. I had to start doing something completely new. And he mentions in that little rant that it's better if they would have just
disappeared.
I totally lost track now. So yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, I don't know, bro. It's very unfortunate, especially him getting injured. And so, I mean, it is what it is at that point. There's not much I can really else say, but it's the fact that he got hurt by just going cold turkey and not even like doing anything else to maybe even prep for the idea of slowly getting off of it. But it's just very unfortunate in that sense.
Yeah,
I guess we can move forward.
Well, one more thing I want to say. It's even happening with other pitchers or just using their spin rates on the baseball. We've seen Garrett Cole complain about it tremendously. Recently, his spin rates on his fastball, slider, everything that's gone down completely. And it's definitely something that we have to look at going forward as we continue throughout the season. I know Tyler Glasnow. Blake, what happened, man?
Yo, sorry, my internet went out for a second. I had to go downstairs and turn it back on. That's my bad.
Oh shit.
No worries.
Okay. All right. Besides that, we're getting ready to wrap up this topic anyway. So yeah, besides that, you great point about Tyler Glasnow. The whole gripping on the ball, you have to throw the ball harder now. It's something that's going to create issues, I believe, for the MLB players, especially the pitchers going forward. It's a great advantage for the hitters, obviously, because they're going to start getting more hits because the pitchers are off their game or whatnot. It's a lot to talk about with this topic going forward. I'm interested to see how the days go on throughout the rest of the season, whether or not this gets better or worse. I know Shohei Ohtani yesterday didn't have a problem with it.
That kid, man. That kid, man. That kid, man, is
could be the potential American League MVP right there.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a lot. It's a lot. We have to continue monitoring this subject, and we'll see how things go on throughout the season.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So now, as we move on throughout the rest of these topics today, we got two more topics, I believe, before we get to our final debate topic of today's show. We have the Chicago Bears have recently purchased the Arlington racetrack, and or at least submitted a bid to purchase this. I know the city of Arlington gave them permission to officially build a stadium on that land. Besides that, I believe the Chicago mayor the city of Chicago is not very happy about this at all. I believe they're not wanting to lose the Chicago Bears out of that city, but if they're not going to help them willingly build a new stadium in that city, I believe this is the right choice for the Chicago Bears moving forward, because this is going to bring opportunities for venues to come to the city of Chicago like it has not before, like the Super Bowl, like the NCAA college football playoff. I believe this is going to bring. I think the whole purpose of this is to obviously make the stadium bigger, make it a state-of-the-art stadium, because I know the city of Chicago it's a huge market for the NFL. The retractable roof could be an option for the Chicago Bears, even though a lot of people say, oh, but the wind and the cold gives the Bears an advantage against teams that come through the city. Yes, it does. It does. But I believe that the Bears players want to play in warm weather. I don't believe they want to play in sub-degree cold weather anymore like it has been. Because look what Minnesota's done. They've done the exact same thing. They built a new stadium with a roof over it, and they're not playing cold weather games anymore. And yes, you could have said that the Minnesota Vikings have played in a dome for almost their whole entire NFL lifetime. But this is a huge step forward for the NFL, I believe. It's a huge step forward for the Chicago Bears as a franchise to see, especially with Justin Fields now coming in. There's a lot of hype surrounded around him and the team going forward. I believe a new stadium is the best thing going forward for this Chicago Bears team. I'm kind of excited to see where this future takes us.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer moving the stadium. I mean, absolutely no-brainer. Obviously, I mean, I know Mayor Lightfoot tweeted out about a week or two ago saying, like, oh, it'd be a disgrace if the Bears left the city. They're called the Chicago Bears. They're not moving anytime soon. They're under contract till 2033. Yeah, well, we'll see about that. That contract doesn't worry me at all. I mean, the Bears stadium right now, Soldier Field, I love it. I mean, I've been there multiple times. It's definitely an experience, but they also have the lowest seating capacity. I mean, you just can't have that. Like you said, Chicago is such a huge marketplace for not only the NFL, but just any sports in general. You want to fill the stadium with as many people as you can. And if you have the lowest seating capacity in all of NFL, that's just not going to work out. And I think Arlington's a great location for a new stadium, especially like you said, since Chicago doesn't want to build a new stadium. I think a retractable roof. I think you knocked it out. I mean, a retractable roof would be awesome. I think the Bears need to get a turf field too, because that grass field just gets torn up after like 1 or 2 games, and like you see players slipping, rolling ankles all the time playing at Soldier Field. And yes, like some people like to say that there's an advantage playing on that grass field for the Bears because the Bears are used to it and the cold weather as well. But no one wants to be playing on that slippery field because it's a slip and slide out there. I mean, by halftime of the game, the field is torn up. I mean, it's just the facts. And also, like you said, no one wants to play in cold weather. I don't care if you're used to it or not, if it's somehow an advantage for the Bears. Nobody likes to play when it's freezing outside. Every hit feels like a sting. I mean, it feels like you're getting cleated with just a normal hit. Nobody wants that. And I think this would be huge for the city also, just in general. Like you said, you can now host Super Bowls, college football playoffs, anything, because when they're looking to find a team for that or find a stadium, I mean, for the Super Bowl, they're looking for a big city that can fit a lot of fans because the NFL is a money business. Whether you want to say it or not, they're a money business. And if the Bears build a new stadium, it's just going to bring in more money for the team and bring in more money for the NFL, which is why I think it's a no-brainer.
I couldn't. You literally hit it on the freaking like nail on the coffin. I was just gonna mention it when it comes to like a lot like having the ability to host a lot of people and whatnot. It's a perfect spot. Like I know I don't know anything about Chicago or whatever the case may be because I may not be interested in all that. But I did do a lot of research last night, and yes, it's a perfect spot for college football playoffs and the Super Bowl because there's a lot of things and a lot of attractions surrounding that spot in particular in Arlington. But one thing to note, it's 15 to 20 minutes from, I don't even know, what is it, O'Hare International, whatever that's called, 15 to 20 minutes from there, as well as also 15 to 20 minutes from the Chicago Executive Airport. So you have two airports that they can potentially, so you have your regular, like all the fans coming in from the O'Hare, and then you have all the players coming in from the Executive Airport. Boom. There's that, number one. Number two, there's 25 hotels within a 10-mile radius of that spot of where the stadium is going to be. So talk about being able to, host college football playoffs and Super Bowl. Like there's so much in that particular spot where it's being like where it's being built that they can hold, a lot of fans and whatnot. So I mean, if I'm not a Bears fan, but as a fan of the game, this would be a beautiful spot to host Super Bowls and all of that stuff moving forward. It's crazy to think that Soldier Field has been the home of the Bears since 1971, and as well as obviously the horse racing thing has been there since 1927. So to see the big change, it's going to be different, at least from a Chicago standpoint. But it's a must need in order to gain that fan support, I guess you could say.
It's not even like even if from the city of Chicago's perspective, yes, you're going to lose the Chicago Bears, but you could still use Soldier Field for any multi-purpose event that you could think of. You could use it for soccer games. You could use it for concerts like it's been used for a while now. You could use it for Notre Dame, who comes down there every once in a while and plays one game against whether it's Wisconsin or someone else. You could still use the stadium. There's no doubt about it. But the city of Chicago is when you think of the key pillars of the NFL, which cities, that teams that the NFL is wanting to take the Super Bowl to. You think of places like Miami.
Hey.
You think of places like Los Angeles. You think of places like New York.
Hey.
New York's a hard place because obviously they don't have a dome on their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
They tried that once already, and it was one of the coldest Super Bowls ever in history. You obviously have places like Los Angeles with their new stadium in SoFi. Arizona with their stadium. Las Vegas is a new location. So they're looking for big markets. They're looking for places that are going to attract the most viewers. Obviously, the city of Chicago, and between Arlington and the city of Chicago, it's only like a 20 to 30-minute drive, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like it's going to be a huge inconvenience for fans to go out of their way because most of the fans, obviously, it's nice now because the stadium's in the city. But team or fans wanting to come out from different cities may have a very easier route to get to Arlington than it'd be to Chicago, because the traffic is just going to get in Chicago alone is just horrible in its own right. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Chicago Bears maneuver this going forward, keeping the fans happy, keeping their relationship with the city of Chicago happy, and seeing how the NFL responds to the news of the NFL of the Chicago Bears wanting to move to a new stadium site, and see how they potentially will offer them more events going forward.
No, yeah, going off of what you said about the keeping the fans happy, the number one concern that I've seen from most fans is they're somehow worried that the Bears are going to change their name from the Chicago Bears to like the Arlington Bears or something like that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about that. The Bears aren't changing their name from Chicago. I mean, if they ever did that, that would be the dumbest move in the history of sports. They're not going to do that. But a lot of fans are concerned about it. I see it on Twitter. I see it on Instagram. There are a ton of fans that are legitimately worried that the Bears are going to change their name, but they're not. I want to give the fans some ease. Rest easy tonight. The Bears aren't going to change their name. They're going to be the Chicago Bears until we die. Long after that.
It's gonna say Arlington
the Miami
Bears.
Dolphins play
it's
in
gonna
Fort
listen.
Lauderdale,
It's gonna be the Arlington freaking Bears, and it's gonna have an A on the side rather than, you know what I mean? Like, listen, it's gonna look so much.
I can't imagine that.
All right, let me stop trolling. That's I don't know.
Even the Dallas
I don't understand.
Cowboys play in Arlington, Texas. They don't play.
No,
in Dallas,
it makes exactly. I don't understand the concern. There's no need for it. It'd be completely like they're staying in the same state. It's not like we're freaking with Oakland where they're literally going to Las Vegas. Like there, you have to make that change. So it's like there's no reason for it. A lot of teams, like Montana said with the Dolphins, like they're up in Fort Lauderdale, damn near. So it's just they're like, I don't know. It's not out of the way, but it's a further drive for a lot of Miami Dolphin fans. So it's not a big deal. I don't think there's no concerns.
All right, we can now officially move on from that topic, and we're now going to go back to the world of basketball. In the Olympics, the Team USA men's national basketball team was officially announced yesterday. Obviously, we got news that James Harden withdrew from the USA basketball team for health reasons. He wants to recover from his hamstring injury that plagued him during the NBA playoffs to get that extra rest as they get ready to move in to the next season. I know Brooklyn is going to be gunning it for it all next year. Let's take a look at this roster here. We have a lot of star power on this roster and a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of young players coming into this roster. Bam Adebayo is the rookie to this USA basketball team. He's going to be the only center presented on this roster for the USA men's national basketball team. We have shooting guards Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. We have Kevin Durant, small forward, coming off a spectacular NBA playoffs. So unfortunately, his team didn't get it done during the NBA playoffs. We have Jerami Grant, who is another rookie to the USA basketball team. Draymond Green, a veteran who's been there and done that with the USA basketball team and in the NBA. Drew Holiday. I believe, is Zach LaVine a rookie to this team? I'm not sure if he is or not.
He is, yeah.
Zach LaVine, another rookie to this USA team. Damian Lillard, and another veteran, Kevin Love, Chris Middleton, and then Jason Tatum. So, what do you guys think about this USA basketball team? Do we think that it's going to be another cakewalk to the gold medal, or are other teams going to somehow dethrone this USA basketball team in the Olympics?
Sebastian, go ahead.
No, you can go.
Okay. I think this is going to be a cakewalk. I mean, this isn't like the FIBA team that couldn't win the gold. I mean, that team was full of – I mean, the best player on that team, I think, was Jaylen Brown. And we're not even seeing a player that's worse than Jaylen Brown on this entire roster other than maybe Kevin Love, but they play a different position. I mean, this team is stacked. I mean, you have Damian Lillard, one of the best point guards in the league. You have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, some of the best shooting guards in the league. Kevin Durant, the best small forward in the league. I'm going to say that. Sorry for all the LeBron fans out there. Kevin Durant is the best small forward in the league. I don't care what anyone has to say about that. And then your bench is stacked. You've got players like Chris Middleton, Jeremy Grant. Jason Tatum's going to be coming off the bench. Devin Booker will probably come off the bench, him or Bradley Beal. And then you've got my boy Zach LaVine, Drew Holiday. I mean, there's not another team out there in another country that can put up nearly the roster that we have. Not only do they have a good roster, they just have a bunch of good players that I think can play well together. These guys can all play well off of each other. I'm excited to see what Bam Adebayo is going to do. Even though I'm not a Heat fan, I'm a huge Bam fan, and I love to see what he can do with all these players around him, because we could be seeing, I hate to say it, but we could be seeing the Heat sign a big name player to sign along with Bam and Jimmy this year. So this could be a nice little preview of seeing what Bam can do with multiple stars. And I think it's going to be a fun team. Above all else, this is going to be a really fun team. I'm excited to see what they can do. And I'm hoping that, yes, I think they're going to cakewalk to the gold medal, but I'm hoping that there's another country out there that's going to have a team that can at least compete with this team.
I agree. So this lineup is beautiful. This lineup's nice. Obviously, I love a lot of the players on this team. It's just I don't feel like it's the same anymore, like how it used to be with Bron, Kobe, D Wade, and that group. But I'm not tripping too much. It is what it is. Those the players that want to go hoop and represent our country, go do it by all means. I'm not completely against it. My only big concern, and that I think it's what like scares me in the sense of why I'm not the biggest fan anymore of playing in the Olympics and sending all of our big stars to the Olympics is that freak injury like that PG one. I'm scared that something will happen. Not as crazy, but injuries will occur to some of these players that'll, hold them out from starting the season, hold them out from even playing, whatever the case may be. So I'm just concerned. I'm concerned because I love a lot of these players that are on this roster. So I don't want them to be like, if they go hoop and go play, that they get hurt and then it's just like, oh, well, now we're missing. Now it's this year all over again, in the sense of notable like superstars not being able to play, impacting their teams, certain different, like for example, Jamal Murray, obviously he got hurt mid, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like the huge impact for some of these players that have on their organizations just scare me a little bit, because let's be real, bro. Ain't nobody going to compete with the freaking United States. Everybody knows, everybody in the universe knows that we are the best like country when it comes to basketball. And I was about to say sports in general, but basketball. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to play for the NBA. Nobody wants to play for Australia. Nobody wants to play for China. Only Jeremy Lin. Nobody wants to play for all these other countries, bro. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants to play in the NBA. I think everybody knows that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
not Ben Simmons and Kyle Kuzma. They want to play for Shanghai.
Yeah. See, I wasn't gonna roast them, but we can get into that. These two, let me not. I already done it enough. But again, I'm just scared that some of these players are gonna get hurt when they don't need to, and then on top of that, they have to do a quick turnaround after the Olympics is over, and they have to go right into training camp. Maybe they have like a small break to rest, but instead of resting all off season and obviously getting their work in, they have to compete for a gold medal and then potentially get hurt and then right into training camp and then right into the season. And it's just like, bro, I feel like they're just going to get fatigued. Then they're going to get hurt. And then it's going to be the damn, we're going to look at the Lakers all over again in the sense of LeBron got hurt dummy this year. AD got hurt dummy. Then in the postseason, where were they? Nowhere to be found. So then I'm just concerned for these players, that it could lead to very, very unfortunate situations and circumstances moving forward. But if nothing happens and everybody, knock on wood, nothing happens and everybody, lives to succeed and be great and nothing happens into going into next season, then I think obviously it's going to be fun to watch. But it's just, I think PG gave me that freaking PTSD that I don't need in my life.
There's maybe like around 3 players on this roster that you can make the case for that situation. And I think a lot of these other players have gotten plenty of rest as they've been eliminated or have not made the NBA playoffs. Yes, I share your concerns a little bit. For some guys, like specifically Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Jrue Holiday, who could all be potentially playing in the NBA Finals, and then literally 2 days after that, shipping off to Tokyo for the Summer Olympics. So yeah, you're going to be, and not to mention that some of these guys have been playing basketball almost all year round since the beginning of last July. Since they into the NBA bubble, because we only had a month break from the NBA bubble and the actual NBA season, which is crazy to think about. That these NBA players some of these guys are going to be playing basketball almost all year round, and then have to go to the Olympics then go back into. They're probably going to have a month and a half break, if I have to imagine.
Telling
The
you.
NBA season starts October 19th, which is a mid-start date, which is getting back to normal. They're going to be playing the regular 82-game season. So then you're going to be looking at the NBA teams thinking, oh, do I have to rest players every now and then? Especially the ones like Devin Booker, who if they win a championship and if it goes to 7 games, I believe they only have like maybe a 3 or 4 day window before they have to go to the Olympics, which is crazy to think about. There are these guys. I do share your injury concern, but then there's the benefit of some of these guys like Bam Adebayo, Zach LaVine, playing around other superstar level players to see how they operate, how they get things done on the basketball court, and how they can maybe bring that back to their basketball teams and get better with their own teams, like the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls. Maybe Zach LaVine finds a way to elevate his team to the NBA playoffs for the first time in forever, it feels like, for the Bulls, since maybe that Derrick Rose era team. But it's just there's definitely cons and there's pros. But I believe there's more pros than cons to the NBA players wanting to play in the Olympics.
No, yeah, to end it off here, I just think the injury concern is a little exaggerated, Sebastian. I mean, other than Paul George, can you really think of too many players that have had any injury, let alone a serious injury like that? And also, like, these players already play basketball all year round. Even on their breaks, they're playing basketball, getting better. Like, this is just no different. This is just giving them in a team environment. Yes, the Olympics, they're going to take it seriously, but they don't play too many games. They're not going to be playing too many good teams. So most of these guys aren't going to be playing very many minutes. They're not going to be out there more than 25 minutes a game because, like we said, this roster is stacked. They're going to be throwing in different rotations of 5. They're not going to be probably not going to be single subbing. They're going to be subbing 3 to 4 guys in at a time. They're not going to be – Greg Popovich is – I think he's still the coach. He's great at giving out minutes. He's been there before. He knows not to play these guys too much. And I just don't see injuries being too much of a concern. Yes, knock on wood, because I would hate to see one of these players get injured. But they're playing for their country. They're playing for that gold medal. It's another bragging right. It's another thing added into a lot of these guys' careers, because a lot of these guys, hate to say it, aren't going to win a ring. It's just not going to happen for a lot of these guys. So this is just – a lot of people think that there's an argument that is a gold medal more valuable than an NBA championship. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but it's still – gold medal is still something to be proud of, and that's why a lot of these guys are here. And hopefully none of these guys get injured. I'm not too worried about it because, like I said, they're not going to be playing that many minutes. They're only playing a few games. I think they can't be playing more than 10 games. I think they play 3 or 4 for seeding, and then they'll play another 2 or 3 in the actual tournament. So I'm not worried. These guys will be fine. They'll have plenty of time off. If they were worried about their rest, then they wouldn't be playing for the team. We've seen plenty of opt-outs. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say to end that topic.
Alrighty. So as we move on from our last main topic of today's show, we're now going to introduce a new segment to the show. It's going to be debate time between the three of us. And today's debate topic, I don't believe you said it earlier in the show, but surprise, we've had recent NFL quarterbacks, specifically Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, get massive contracts, setting the new records for deals in the NFL. Deshaun Watson. Now we have 3 upcoming quarterbacks that are in the contract phase of their career, with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen. I think the debate topic here today is, what are they worth, and are they worth it to their respective NFL franchises? And do we see them outperforming their contracts or performing as to expectations? I did some research and looked at some recent NFL contracts being signed by quarterbacks. The highest paid player right now is Patrick Mahomes at $450 million over a 10-year span, which is crazy to think about. That NFL quarterbacks' 10-year contracts is crazy to think for a quarterback, especially. Well, Patrick Mahomes is worth it because he's Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. Dak Prescott got a 4-year, $160 million contract. He was the most recent quarterback to sign a deal. So he is set the precedent for guys like Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to leave it to, I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first.
I'll go.
What kind of contract do you all right, let me ask a question. What kind of contract do you see Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen getting? Who signs first? And do we think one of the 3 is better than the other throughout the rest of their careers?
So I'm going to break down each individual player really quick, and then I'll give you a summary of what I think at the end. So for Lamar, my biggest concern for him is the fact that he's doing this without an agent. The man is relied heavily as being represented by his mother, and so I feel like I don't want him to sell himself short and get into a situation that he's going to regret financially. Obviously, I think whatever the market is for quarterbacks, he deserves it. He's a stellar quarterback. I don't care what anybody has to say. The man, if you don't, you know what I'm saying? The man, in my eyes, has proven himself time and time again to the Baltimore Ravens. And so I think the man is ready and the man is lit and deserves, whatever contract is ahead of him. Now, going on to Baker, I like how he's fitting in that Kevin, what's his name? Kevin Stefanski or whatever the hell his name is. I like how he's fitting, especially now that you got OBJ back. You know what I mean? Like I think the Browns, in my eyes, are my sleeper team to make a very deep push into the postseason. Maybe even let me not. So with that being said, I think Baker deserves a contract with whatever they're asking for. He's struggled under other coaches, and so I think right now is the perfect fit with Mr. Kevin, Stefanski, and as he's done a brilliant job. Stefanski. He's done a brilliant job so far after year one being that head coach and taking on that role. So I really like the Browns offense at least. And so I think Baker deserves a contract as well. Now, Josh Allen, I'm supposed to hate the Buffalo Bills and I'm supposed to do all this hate and whatnot, but I'm going to keep it a buck, man. He's got the threats he needs. He's extremely successful with that Diggs matchup, or not matchup, but that connection over there. And honestly, they have a strong defense. I like the Bills. Like I mentioned, I'm not supposed to really like them, but their team is nice. And to be honest with you, I was really rooting for the Bills last year when they were making that little postseason run. And so, to summarize all of this, at the end of the day, all these boys are franchise quarterbacks. I don't see them getting replaced by anybody anytime soon. So whatever the market is for them, I think they'll sign the contract, because if you look at it, and no shade at all, please, if you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sorry. But if Dak can get that type of a contract and having a mediocre ass freaking career in the sense of his team, his team records, in that sense, I think these boys deserve that type of a contract, if not a little more, because I think they've all performed exceptionally well to provide and prove their worth and, being their franchise quarterback and whatnot. And that's pretty much all I got.
So, Sebastian, are you not concerned about how Baker Mayfield performed with Odell Beckham on the field versus when he was off the field, when Baker Mayfield was at the top of his game rather than he was before? Because once Odell went off, the offense completely took off into a completely different stratosphere for the Browns. So I'm not sure if it's Odell's problem or if it's just the offense getting into rhythm.
I think at least with that perspective, I think OBJ is going to come back from that injury and realize, he's had his little moments where the man, he's cried like a little word that I'm not going to say. But so I think OBJ is going to realize, okay, hold on, me and Juice, we got something. We're brothers. Let me lock in and let me actually play my role and do what's needed to be done to win. And so I think the Browns will realize that and get OBJ back into the right mindset. And, yes, he may have, it may have been better without him, but I think we'll see the real New York Giants OBJ, the stellar one-handed catcher, the beautiful finesse god of OBJ that he is, as well as obviously my man, Mr. Juice. I love him as much as I want him back on the Dolphins fit. He's happy with his brother and he's happy with the organization in Cleveland. So I think they're going to be nice. Hopefully OBJ, fits in well and they kind of try and flip that around. If not, just trade his ass and call it a night. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm just being hopeful in the aspect that OBJ is a wonderful wide receiver. Yes, it may not have connected well. I think they can go overcome that and fix that.
Well, to answer that real quick before I get into the main topic, I think it was everybody's fault. It wasn't just Baker Mayfield. It wasn't just OBJ, and it wasn't just the offensive coordinator. When OBJ was there, they were running the ball less, and they were throwing the ball a heck of a lot more. Now, that's not all the offensive coordinator's fault, because we did see Baker force a lot more passes when OBJ was in the field than when he wasn't. But what I think we're going to see here is a great combination. Now they're going to have their run game. They're going to continue. That's the key. They can't get away from the run game. Continue to run the ball because they ran the ball so well last year. They destroyed teams running the ball. Continue to do that and then work the pass off of that. And I think we'll see one of the best offenses in the league next year in the Browns. I think Baker Mayfield has been inconsistent throughout his career. Some of it his fault, some of it not. But I think he's the type of player he's going to work, and he's going to continue to get better every single year. But now getting back to the main topic in terms of money, I'm a firm believer, and it's almost proven in fact, teams that pay their quarterback boatloads of money do not have success. They just don't because they don't have the money to pay other players. So Patrick Mahomes got that deal, and they're going to be good for the next couple. I mean, they're going to be really good for the next couple of years. But then we're going to see his contract because for the next couple of years, people don't realize it. They think he signed that huge contract. He's going to be getting that money. No, for the next year or two, he's still under that rookie contract money. So he's not going to be getting paid that fat contract yet. But when he starts getting paid that money, you're going to be seeing a lot of players on that team go away. Is it going to be Travis Kelce? Is it going to be Tyreek Hill, who on that defense isn't going to get paid? That offensive line just got a fat contract. They're not going to be able to pay all these players because they're going to have to pay so much of their money, so much of their salaries going to Patrick Mahomes in the next 10 years. And that's what I don't want to see teams like the Bills, Ravens, and Browns. They shouldn't make that mistake. If I'm Lamar Jackson, if I'm Josh Allen, if I'm Baker Mayfield, I look at myself and say, yes, I deserve to get a good contract, but don't be ridiculous. Not to call them greedy for taking money that they deserve, but take less of a contract so you can have a better team. Do you want to win or do you want to just make the most money? That's what I think it boils down to. Dak Prescott, I think, sold himself. He just proved that he doesn't want to win, I think. He just wants that fat contract. He was willing to not play. He did play, but he was willing to just continually sit out until, guess what? Pay me my contract or I'm leaving. That's what he said, and they paid him the contract because Dak Prescott, yes, he put up the stats. He deserves a fat contract, but it doesn't mean you should take it. Now, in terms of what these guys are going to get paid, I think Josh Allen should get paid the most. I think Lamar Jackson should get paid the second most, and then I think Baker Mayfield should get the third most out of that. I think they all deserve contract extensions. Those teams would be dumb to let those players go, but I think they need to look themselves in the mirror and say, guess what? If I want a chance to win the Super Bowl, I take good money, not great money. Take a page out of Tom Brady's book. Tom Brady has never, I don't think, in his career been given the most money as a quarterback. And guess who's winning Super Bowls? Tom Brady, not that player who's getting paid the most. And I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers believer. But guess what? It's been shown if you pay that kind of money, your team is going to get worse because of it. You can only pay so many players so much money. You need to get a medium, find that middle ground between great money and just having good success. Because like I said, you can't have great success if the majority of your salary is getting paid to one player.
I completely agree with like most of those points that you said. The trend, most of the trend we're seeing now. Tom Brady's one in his own type of player. The way he handles himself, the way he handles. I mean, you can look at potentially he doesn't need to ask for all this money because his wife is a supermodel making millions of dollars also. So why does he need to do that also? Like some of these NFL other NFL quarterbacks don't have that kind of situation where they're the only ones providing the money that they need to provide for their families. Yes, you could say 20 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money per season. For us, it's a lot of money. But for them, max out the way that you want to max out the contracts for the rest of your career because you never know what's going to happen in 5 years. You could be out of the league in 5 years. So like that's where I could see the potential argument for someone like Lamar Jackson, who I believe is going to be the first one to sign. Yeah, I believe he's going to be the first one to sign his new contracts. Then I believe it's going to be Baker Mayfield, then Josh Allen, because I believe Josh Allen's going to be the one. He's the best out of the three, in my opinion. He has the size, the arm strength, everything to make himself a prototypical NFL quarterback. In my opinion, he is not. No one is going to be on that Mahomes level money. There may be a couple quarterbacks coming later down the line that I believe that we can talk about another time that could potentially, if their NFL careers pan out, could get that money. I do think that Josh Allen deserves a contract somewhere around $200 million, but I don't believe he deserves 10 years. I think somewhere around 4 or 5 years is the mark for someone like him because he hasn't won that Super Bowl yet. And you just don't know. He had a great season last year. He could fall off a cliff this year. We just don't know what's going to happen. Besides that, you make a great point about the best window for any NFL team is to draft a quarterback, and then that 5-year window, that's your window right there. To win a Super Bowl, that's your window. Because if you don't get that, then you're screwed for the rest of your lifetime. Yes, you're gonna be a great winning football team. You're gonna have so much success on the football field, but you're just not gonna. This trends past. We've seen it before. No one ever gets it done after those 5 years. We've seen Russell Wilson who had that huge contract, but couldn't pay. The Seahawks couldn't pay that defense. They couldn't do it, and look at where Russell Wilson is now. He's only got that one Super Bowl on his resume. He has yet to get his team back to the Super Bowl, even though everyone favors them to win the division every year. I just don't see it happening. Yes, they have the offensive weapons now. Obviously, DK Metcalf is a great beast of a player, but there's going to come a point where you're going to have to pay him also, and somehow keep all those defensive players that you want to keep because I believe if you have a great defense, you're going to win that Super Bowl. No doubt in my mind. I mean, we've seen it before, and I believe that's the trend that's going to happen. We've seen, even with the Browns right now, Baker Mayfield, he's on his rookie contract. That's how you're paying all these guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, everyone to come and play for the Browns on that defense. Because this is, in my opinion, this is the year for the Browns to do it. Because if they don't get it done, because they have to get it done this year, because Baker Mayfield's his contract, Nick Chubb is another guy that's going to be looking to get a contract for that team. So this is the time. Now or never is the time for the Browns. But as far as that goes, I believe that the three out of the three, Josh Allen deserves the money the most. Lamar Jackson, yes, he has an MVP, but he hasn't gotten the results done in the playoffs. He's yet to beat teams and big time teams in the regular season like the Chiefs. But that's just this is my thoughts. There's just a lot of conversation to have about these three guys going forward.
Nah, I mean, I love Josh Allen, I love Lamar, and I love Baker. If we, we'll talk about it later on in a different potential show with fantasy. But like I completely agree in the sense I think Josh Allen's the best. I think he'll sign the most money. And then it just goes down to who do you think will have the bigger impact between Lamar and Baker. And then like I said, bro, I really think Lamar might really screw himself over because this man legitimately doesn't it's crazy to me that this man legitimately is trusting his mom over an actual agent, bro. I don't understand it. Bro, we need that's a discussion that needs to be addressed. We don't have to do it today, but at some point, the fact that this man is trusting his mom to take care of all this crap over an actual agent, I feel like he's going to sell himself short, and he might even be the one that takes the less money because he's going to do what Blake mentioned. And, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does so that they'll have more money around the team to develop and add more pieces to him and have other arsenals to rely on, worst case scenario. So I think he might end up taking the least amount of money, and then Baker will be the second most, and then obviously Josh Allen the most.
Out of the three quarterbacks, which one has the best chance to win the Super Bowl this year?
I think Josh Allen. Cap.
Josh Allen. I'm going to go with Josh Allen.
Josh Allen because of the threats offensively and because of what you guys mentioned with the whole thing over in Cleveland with OBJ and how that works. If that works the way that I'm hoping and being as hopeful, I think they have the best chance. But if that goes the same way as it did last year, then I think, I'll go with Josh Allen and the unfortunate Buffalo Bills.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that the Browns, out of all three of those teams, have the highest ceiling. But I think the Bills, even though their ceiling it's slightly lower than the Browns, it's really close. It's just slightly lower. But I think they've been consistent. They were really good last year, and I think they've got a team to where it'd be really hard for them to take a step back because I don't see most of their players getting worse. You've got one of the best receivers in the league in Stephon Diggs. You've got Josh Allen. You've got a good offensive line. You just drafted another running back.
That's secondary, yeah.
Yeah, that defense has got stout. They've been adding a lot of players. They were already decent. But what I'm going to end on this topic is, and I'm going to say this, regardless of what those quarterbacks sign for, they're going to be making a lifetime worth of money. And whether they're smart with their money is up to them. That's my opinion. But I think what it's going to boil down to is, do these players value money over success? Because if they value money over success, then yeah, go ahead. Max out your contract, get as much money as you can.
Hold. Huge breaking news just occurred. Rick Carlisle is now the head coach for the Indiana Pacers.
Oh.
4-year, $29 million.
It would be huge news until you said the Indiana Pacers.
Stop, bro. I was not expecting the Pacers for him to be. Bro, I was. Sorry, I may not be huge news for y'all, but I'm very shocked. I am very shocked.
I thought he was retiring.
Talk about mediocre.
Stop it. Stop. Don't you disrespect. Stop it.
Yeah, that guy's not a great coach, if you ask me.
Oh, here we go. Whatever. Fine. I'll just shut up. Continue.
Right, the coattails of Dirk Nowitzki to that one title, bro.
Oh, here we go. You son of a biscuit. Continue. Sorry, I thought it was huge news. Jesus.
No, I mean, it is huge news. I was just trolling a little bit because of the Pacers. But yeah, like I said, we'll see. We're going to find out real quick whether Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield value that money over success, or if they value success over money. Because those three guys can make good money, but still take a low enough contract like Tom Brady to where his team can build the pieces around them to make them into the best team in the league. Because I think those three teams are to the point right now, they're great teams, but if they take just an average contract, just good money, not great money, those teams could arguably 5 years, 3-4 years down the line be the best team in the NFL. Because we're going to see I hate to say it, but the Chiefs are going to fall off in 3 years. Not to a bad team. They're still going to be a really good team, but it's going to be impossible for them to retain all of those players. Impossible. Even if they take less money, it still won't matter because they have so much money in Patrick Mahomes. They have so much money in Tyrann Mathieu. They have so much money in those offensive linemen they just signed. It's going to be impossible for them to keep all of those players and to keep that team in line. So that's why I think it'd be a smart decision for Josh Allen and the rest of those quarterbacks to take just a decent contract so that they can build the best team around them to win Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of months before the NFL season starts, which quarterback, if they decide to sign now, or wait and see how their value spikes towards the end of the season, whether or not they do really well. We've seen quarterbacks gamble on themselves before, like Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. Some players have worked out in their favor, some haven't. So I guess it's going to be interesting to see as we go forward. And the NFL season is right around the corner, so we got a lot to talk about when it comes to the NFL. Super exciting. What you got, Sebastian?
We forgot to mention this for the although it has nothing to do with the USA team. We got to shout out my dog Coach Spo. He will help coach the USA basketball select team in Vegas this summer to help prep the actual Olympic roster and help them face on those players that'll I think Anthony Edwards is headlining that squad that's going to be facing up against. So I believe Anthony Edwards is headlining that team that Spo is going to be coaching to take on, obviously, the Olympic team to get them prepped and ready to go for Tokyo. I just wanted to do a little quick shout out for Spo.
Oh, it's another great coaching hire right there. I love Coach Spo.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. He's a good coach to have develop young players, because especially with how he's developed young players in the Miami Heat organization, it's definitely the right choice. I mean, it's glad that he's starting to get some recognition as being one of the best coaches in the NBA now.
Yep.
All right.
100%.
So as we get ready to finish today's show, I want to remind you guys, if you guys are not listening on audio formats, please do so. Drop a follow, leave a rating, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your audio. If you guys are watching on YouTube later at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, subscribe to the channel. Drop a follow, leave a like, comment in the comment section, do whatever, floats your boat. Tell us how we can improve the show, whether you guys like the new formats. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. You guys can find me over on Instagram and Twitter at Wildcard Movies. Sebastian, where can they find you?
Rabbit FL everywhere.
And they can find me at Blake Spillers everywhere.
We look forward to announcing more potential shows coming in the near future. Sebastian, what do you got?
Unspoken Rule Pod on Twitter, Unspoken Rules Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
So yeah, again, we look forward to announcing future shows coming real soon to the platform, whether it's myself or Blake or Sebastian headlining the shows. You guys have to wait and find out. Besides that, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and thanks for watching another episode of Unspoken Rules, and we'll see you guys later.
Yep,
Peace.
see you guys.